Confidence and Conflict. I work for Vistalar as a consultant, trainer, and hopefully soon to be speaker. And I was going to present with Kathy Mangold. So you'll see your book in front of you. These are not books for you to take. They're books for you to use. If you want to purchase them, they're $12. But what I do want to do is she's not here. This is her book. This is her debut conference on her book. And I want her presence to be here. Her presence is missed. She had a death in her family. I am not the author, and I hope I represent her well and that we do a good job for her because we will be doing it together. And I know that she so wanted to be here. And the presentation would be so different if it was two of us. We'd probably be standing up and doing it different. But since I'm the person here, I get to decide. I set a circle. I was going to have just a circle of chairs. I come from 12-step recovery work. I am 29 years. I'm in Al-Anon as many years. For people who do not know what 12-step is, it's 12 steps to stay sober, or 12 steps to not be codependent, is what we call it in that language. And so I made a circle for a purpose, so that as we work on confidence in conflict, and as you well can imagine in recovery, a woman or a man married to an active person who is in their addiction, conflict is not if, it's when and how bad will it be. In the same way, if you are an addict or an alcoholic or have some addiction and you're in recovery, confidence in conflict is not your strong suit. Defects are your strong suit, but we do in our programs. I work with women only, and I've been doing that for about 29 years in one way or another to help their lives get on track, keep mine on track. And I have added verbal defense and influence because I probably, at this point, am a recovering verbal bully. I was going, I think, and not all women, take no offense, and you may have a girlfriend or wife or something, and I'm not classifying it as a group, but generally the women I know and come from, we are prelude to Peter for just a second, because by gender, I did not grow up doing a fist. I've never hit anybody with my fist, but I can guarantee you I will hit you with my words. I am sharp-tongued. So with that said, we're sitting in a circle because we will all participate. You can pass or play. We'll do a little housekeeping and make a social contract. We today in this class, and feel free if you would like to leave because it's too personal. We have a professional face and a personal face. And I am going to hope to get you emotionally safe so that we can go into our personal people. That's why I've exposed who I am personally. I am single, an older woman, in recovery, work. I'm from Texas. I'm from Austin, Texas now. And give you a little bit of who I am on a personal level. And as you can tell, I'm starting to, I will get into my personal self. Now I'm going to sit here and try to be my best personal self because I'm the teacher, or I'm going to be the facilitator. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a social contract that you can pass or you can play. You can talk. I'm hoping that everyone will participate. We will not do crosstalk. If I say something, you can crosstalk to me because I'm the leader. If this person talks and says something that's personal to him or her, then when it's your turn or while they're talking, you don't get to just jump in. We're going to take turns. I wish I had my little turner thing, but I'm going to use my phone because time is important. I don't even know how you do all that. I didn't even turn it on. So anyway, see what I know about timing? Anyway, so with that said, we want to practice emotionally and safe environment. Where I go it's anonymity. It is, when you go out there, I don't care if you go this woman or there was a woman that said, but in here, if you know each other, if you don't feel safe, if it's a crime or something that you've committed, I will suggest that maybe perhaps you not share that at this time. Or you know, certain particular things that would be left maybe for a preacher or priest or, you know, someone that we call a sponsor. Details. So does everybody kind of get that part? But we do want to get safe. We want to get into our personal self. So you can get comfortable. We just have gone to all of our stacking our blocks and our power poses and all our other stuff. But I would like for you to kind of get centered into, I'm Katherine. You know, who is Katherine? I'm just you guys, and we're all equal, and we're all going to try to take a look at our own personal situations. And our first one, how we're going to do it is you have some handouts, and Kathy and I had this all planned out, so I'm going to try to follow along. Feel free to look through it on the chapter. We're going to start in chapter, I think it's chapter 4, and showtime. And we've been this morning in groups, and what the leader does in a meeting, whenever I lead a meeting in any of my venues, is I'll start it and get the topic going. For purposes here, if you want to talk about the problem, fine, for your whole time. Or you can talk about the solution the whole time. This is your time to be heard, and we will all listen, and we will not comment. I don't know if you've ever practiced that in a circle, is you get to talk, I get to talk, and it's not for the next person to build off of or to. It is your time to go inside yourself, to look at yourself if you can, and process your own part. So we're going to talk about showtime and what on a personal level. I heard someone talk about, I can't, if you're in the room, is someone triggered her about not being a good mother and she just lost it. So evidently her showtime, whatever, was not in place. I can bully a 2-year-old. You could trigger me maybe on the personal level in a New York minute here or anywhere else. I'm not a pro. I'm not here to tell you I'm the pro, but we're here to talk about personal, how it's actually going at home. And you get that time to go inside and think about it, make some notes, reflect, process, etc. The problem, the solution. We are a solution-based group, and we're going to get started on showtime. Has there anyone been to any thing that, or is there anyone here that's not familiar with showtime today at this time? Showtime, whether it's professional or whether it is personal, I think it is somewhat different. When I'm showtime at work, I mean, if you're law enforcement or you have certain jobs, I mean, you're on point, on task. I mean, you've got Superman going or Superwoman going. In the home, we're going to discuss what you decide your showtime is going to look like. And so what I'd like to do is give you a few minutes to just kind of think, I'm Katherine. Oh, you don't have your tags. I would be call you by name. I'm like, anyway. Javier. Javier is going to think about Javier. You're going to think about yourself. Everybody's going to think about yourself, and whether it's with your wife, your kids, in general. What do you think your showtime face or persona looks like? And it says on here, and think about how you maintain it. And you can, when it's your turn to talk, you can say, I don't maintain it. I'm starting at ground zero here. And I will allude to Peter. He's got a lot of history behind him in VDI tactics. So he may be, he may be he may be in the 12th grade. I'm in the 3rd grade or 4th grade. You may be in kindergarten. You may be wherever you are. So we make it a safe place for you to just take a few minutes. And when I raise my hand, we'll come back And what we will do is we will start with each person and go around the room, and you can say, come back to me. I can't think of a face, blah, 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 blah. I mean, whatever you want to talk about and say, it is your time to be heard. And if it is a question, then you can see me after or see somebody after, and we'll discuss it. And you have some pencils and papers and books if you want to kind of go through the book while you're thinking about yourself. We won't go into meditation and prayer and all that stuff. I come from faith-based also. So I'm just going to try to be quiet so that you can take time to go, who am I at home in showtime? I know who I am when I'm in crazy. And you probably do too. So, I mean, that goes without saying. But if it isn't, you can go, no, I don't do crazy. I'm always in showtime. And we're going to listen to you really closely. Okay, so let's take a few minutes. And you can whisper and discuss with someone else if you want to try to get some help. If it's okay, you may ask your next door neighbor.
So we're figuring out who we are in showtime.
We are essentially answering the question number one. I think it's the showtime number one.
Evaluate your showtime presence. What's the best way to describe your process of putting on and maintaining your showtime at home? If you don't have any experience, that's okay too. You can talk about crazy. If you need any help, here is a sheet that shows assets. That might jar you, and you can go God times all the time, helpful, blah, blah, blah. Very good. I actually forgot my timer. Okay, I know that isn't a lot of time, but we'll get better. Because when you first get started with these, it kind of takes you a few minutes to get into it. We're going to start here, and if you'll give your first name, and you can give your last name if you want to, and then just jump right in, because it's not like we have a whole lot of time because there's so many of us, and I'm the timer. When you hear the timer go off, just finish your sentence. Then what we do, we just go quiet. And then the next person, when I get my little timer ready, you go. Because what we want to do is listen to see what everyone has to say. And if you will speak up, that would be really good. So are you ready?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right. My name's Ken. I'm a public safety sergeant in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and been on the job for 10 years, got 14 years military experience. And, you know, when you're dealing with this concept of showtime, never used the word before, but I guess it makes sense. I did it and still do it every day. I'm looking at the practical guide to help you discover your character traits. Well, in a 12-hour shift, both the assets and the defects of character go through your mind at least once or twice. All of these on the list. 12 hours. You're running a gamut of different calls, different things. You're all over the place. There's no consistency, which is the exciting part of the job. So you're on stage. You're in a drama type situation for 12 hours. And then when you make that 20-minute drive home, if you don't decompress in that 20 minutes, when you step in the door, you're going to decompress on everybody that's around you, son, wife. And sometimes you can talk about stuff, sometimes you can't. So to try to put on a face or a Showtime face, I can tell you 9 times out of 10, my wife can see right through that and say, well, what the hell is going on? Something big happened. Sometimes you talk about it, sometimes you don't. But
Go ahead, finish up.
oh, I was just going to say, 12 hours is a very short period of time, but also a long period of time when you're dealing with all.
And so you decompress when you're driving home to put on your
Sometimes, sometimes not.
Yeah. Oh, sometimes. Okay, got it. Next.
My name is Matt. I'm also a sergeant with the Council of Public Safety. I run a street team. It's a 5-officer undercover unit. And my showtime, I guess, is a lot of these things here: authoritative, consistent, relaxed, calm, tolerant. I can also be very disrespectful, impatient, intolerant, and unrealistic. And the same thing, I have a 20-minute drive home, so you decompress. My family doesn't know exactly where I work, so it's kind of a question that they have a lot, but same thing.
So we've heard 2 people, they kind of decompress on their ride home. So that is their Showtime personal phase. Get started. Okay.
My name is Sydney. I work with the Wood County Prosecutor's Office. I recently transitioned from college to being a professional. And I think what I realized is I don't have a showtime ever. I mean, sometimes I do randomly if I want to like make myself look good. But my boss is like one of my best friends. So for me, it's very difficult to have a showtime face with her when I come and talk to her about my problems too. So I think for me, I don't know if I necessarily have a showtime, and I struggle with trying to figure out what that is and how to balance being friends with people that I work with / trying to be positive for them all the time, even though things are going wrong in my home life, I guess.
Okay. So you're in the great, we always say, well, you're in a good place with a good group, and we have good books and good teachings. And I did want to mention, I didn't say that, but she has an online companion class that goes with this book. Okay. How about next?
My name is Dana. I'm a nursing instructor. I'm working in Fenimore, Wisconsin. I would say my showtime is in front of my students, working throughout the day, because I'm very introverted as on a personal level, which they would never say. They don't agree with that. So my showtime at work is putting on that face of being consistent and, everything that goes along with that. And then I go home and I have a different showtime as a mother and a wife. And I think a lot of that is hiding the stress level and all those things of putting on that face of everything's just fine, type of thing. So I think those are my 2 different faces.
Thank you.
I am Beth. I also work in Fenimore, Wisconsin. I don't teach, but I work with I support a lot of faculty members, a lot of students. I would definitely say my showtime is my job. Some days I'm juggling lots of students with questions, and some days, one second I'm juggling a student, the next second I'm helping an instructor. They all have different issues, and a lot of times I feel like I don't know if it's showtime or if it's just working as efficiently as possible, pulling things out of my hat to make myself look good. And I too feel like I have a different showtime, not in work, at home. I have a 15-minute drive home, and then I'm a mom and a wife, and we have all kinds of activities going on. And I would say my showtime is better at work, maybe, than at home. At work, I feel like I'm a great support person. I don't always maybe have to make the decisions. And then when I go home, I'm the mom, I'm the boss. I want my kids and my husband to do it my way, and sometimes I'm not always um, as nice as I could be. You know, I'm kind of more of a dictator, almost like this is my way or the highway. So definitely know I need to work on. There's a lot of things that I've learned this week that I can work on at home.
Good, thank you. And my timer on. I'm not very techy, so that was perfect. Thank you. Okay, next.
I'm Margaret, and I think in the personal side of life and the professional, I don't use this word showtime, but I am very intentional about why I'm here in this moment, and my practice is that I'm in service. So it's some of the words that pop out on these list of characters is that I am intentional about being highly aware of others and helpful. I'm very much a thinking person and also a feeling person. So thoughtful. I'm trustworthy in the sense that if I say something, I mean it. I might not be able to deliver like a promise in the original time I had hoped, but I deliver. And I'm sincere.
Thank
I'm
you.
also worrisome, so there's a defense.
Okay.
I'm John. I'm a special agent with the Railroad Police, and my showtime would be probably in the work role, just putting on that face, having the strength to deal with every different situation, being strong for people that you come in contact with. In my personal life, I'm probably a lot more reserved than I am. When I put on the vest and put on the badge and everything. It's just sort of a, police-wise, sort of like, when you're, going and, busting through a door and everything. It's like, showtime. You put on the game face, you go in, task-oriented, and you just go and get the job done and just focus on what needs to be done.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Brandy. I'm from Bowling Green, Ohio. My showtime, although I want it to be perfect in every aspect, because one of those defects in my characteristics is that I'm a perfectionist. I'm actually far from perfect. I'm a mom and a wife, and I'm a full-time grad student, and I'm a full-time employee who is a director of a program who has subordinate employees, as well as someone who supervises me. And I want to be perfect in all of those regards and always having showtime on. But I slip, and I'm not that. And I get frustrated with myself when I can't be all of those things. So really for me, I'm just learning how to juggle all of that. And I don't know how to decompress and spend my time not worrying about being so great, because I often let myself down, I think. But on a good note, I think I'm a respectful person. I always try to be responsible when tasks are given, and I'm grateful for opportunities as well.
I'm Peter Harrell, senior consultant, senior everything, 66 years old. But anyway, my showtime is easy for me to carry because, and I haven't shared this with anybody except my circle of friends that Katherine actually knows because we play poker together. But I've always considered myself, even before I got to verbal judo, and I've been with verbal judo and VDI for over 15 years. My dad steeped me in history. So we read a lot of the Knights of the Round Table. We read a lot about medieval knights and the Knights Templar. I've always considered, if you saw my screenshot, it's a knight with a cross on his thing with a sword and a shield. So I've always looked at myself, and I'll relate what I'm talking about being a knight. Knights had codes. They had codes that they lived by. Well, we all got policies and codes and everything, but mine is a little bit stricter because since I'm a teacher, a trainer, and a consultant, I have to remain in showtime mode all the time. It's not if I will, I must, because it's what I teach. And I learned a long time ago, if I could just practice what I teach or preach, life's gonna be fine. So that's how I approach it.
My name is Brian. I am from Platteville, Wisconsin. I also am a member of the Fenimore Technical College. My job is admissions, so I work with about every student that comes through Southwest Tech. And my day job, that show time starts at 7:30 and ends when I leave at 4 during the day. At night, the show time is I am also a fire and EMS instructor and also a member of the fire and EMS in Platteville. So my show time is pretty much 24/7, 365. So with EMS, it's short bursts of highly intense activity followed by a decompressing time while we do our narratives and document. Fire could be longer than that, but it could be any time during the day. So showtime in my community and in my life is pretty much the whole time.
My name is Paul. I'm also an instructor at Southwest Tech in Fenimore, Wisconsin. I'm very blessed in that I get to be a performer every day I walk into the classroom. And so I've stumbled into it more by accident than anything else, but there's an old movie called All That Jazz by Bob Fosse from years ago. He had a different reason for doing it, but I will go in the bathroom and say, I say showtime. And I get to perform and model in front of students. I fail more than I succeed. That's part of the nice part about getting older is you give up on a lot of that perfectionism. And so professionally, I'm a performer. I like performing, and it is showtime. You try to do it in a professional way. At home, I've learned to try not to have maybe that face, to be more honest with my wife and kids than I was when I was younger. So it's a learning process.
Good afternoon, Mike Delville, with Mr. Lark with Defense, and for me, Showtime is that gets me in my professional life. Showtime is my professional face. What do I need to do to get to that point? I retired recently from working in the Department of Corrections, and that was, that professional face was the assertiveness. You still need that, it's a reasonableness, non-judgmental, because it's so easy to come across in some way, and it takes an effort to learn to respond rather than react. There's certain things. Latter half of my career, I've worked with a lot of staff. There's certain things that people do to get you going, in my professional life, and I don't respond to that. I don't react to it like I used to. I learned not to, and I learned to respond to it. In my family life, I learned to use Showtime to put on my family face, because it's just important. And sometimes family members can push those buttons too. One of the things, the family button, that for some reason I focused on the wrong thing. You ever heard this? You always do that, or you ever said that? That is, and what do I focus on? Not the fact that I did something wrong, that I don't always do it. I sleep once in a while, I eat once in a while, so I can't be always doing it, but I'm focusing on the wrong thing. So I focus on the response rather than the reaction, and I have to put my face on to do that, but it gets me there.
Thank you.
My name's Jim Mallory. I work in Kalamazoo, Michigan as well. Showtime for me is in the organization of a culture that you're constantly being observed in, and that the division I'm responsible for has about 160 employees. So you have to be constantly aware, and it's a learning lesson. I could spend all day talking about the learning opportunities I've had at blowing it. But to put on, when we go into an endeavor to show your own passion and belief that this is the direction that this organization needs to move, and get people to buy into that. I also am a professor at a local university, and it's a different environment though to be able to have that same type of showtime attributes with students, and then trying to even get on a third as a husband and father of 3 teenage men. So interesting. On a side note, I will apologize to everyone because I might have to step out. We had a, make this story longer, a bomb squad activation in our town. and it's at a high school my son attends for a pipe bomb in the bathroom. So I'm waiting for a text and putting on a Showtime face right now that just to make sure everything's okay.
Just take care of that.
As soon as I get that text, I'll be stepping out to make a phone call.
Absolutely.
Hi, everybody. I'm Robert. I'm from Western North Carolina. I work as the security director at Mission Health in Asheville, same place that Coach Bob currently lives. I think I did Showtime a long time ago, but I didn't know it was called Showtime. For many years, I put on a particular uniform for a career I had prior to this career. And every day I put on a professional face to go out and meet the public. Now in my current job, I still put on a uniform every morning, although it's a shirt and tie. And because I have to have a certain demeanor to greet everybody that I work with in our large organization. And when I read Kathy's book, and she talks about Showtime in there, I realized it was called Showtime, and that I'd been doing it for a long time, kind of on a certain degree of unconscious competence. And now I've gotten more explicit about using it for like difficult conversations, terminations, as well as when I have to deal with my own teenager, who's a teenage girl. By the way, this is that's her right there. So anyway, so it's good. I use it. It's very, 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 very essential.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Javier Bravo, and I work for the same organization that Robert does. And I have two Showtime faces. I have the Showtime face, as Robert mentioned, that puts on a shirt, a tie, and goes in and puts on this professional face. So I deal with different leaders around the organization, as well as lead a team of multiple personnel. So now I'm not only engaging leaders around, but I'm also trying to be the example for my team of how I want them to represent our department. And it's a constant struggle because you want to, sometimes things happen and it pushes certain buttons within you, but you have to maintain that persona, you have to maintain that face, that professionalism, and I'm also a father. So even when I had a rough day at the office, I have to still be the role model for my son. And being a single dad, I mean, he only has you, so you have to make sure that he gets exactly what he needs from you to be a good member of society.
Thank you. So we've gone around the table and talked about our professional self and our personal self, which everyone wants to bring the best to the table. So the possibilities are endless of you as individuals, what I can do professionally to be my best self in my circumstance, and the same way personally. It would be just great if we could all be who we wanted to be personally and just let my natural self go. You do not want that to happen. So what we're going to do is transition now that we know what faces look like, our best face, where we step up to the plate in conflict or under stress, or to just a certain situation to be better, is what we're saying. To be a little better, a little better, a little better, bits at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. So what we're going to talk about now, we're going to do the same thing, and I hope that you are feeling safe. And you can talk, we're going to combine 2 and 3. We're going to talk about our stresses and our triggers. I forget who said that, but I'm all of them at any different time. But generally, I'm angry. Generally, I'm fearful. Generally, I'm egotistical. But I can be really nice about it. I mean, figure that. I tell people there is a space right here, and people can be sad but grateful in that same space. Or you can be in pain and you can also be happy in that same space. So I'm just telling you is that to know myself is what the point is. I know that I can be stressed and triggered in the same space. I can get into conflict, but yet we've discussed I can step up and practice some of my assets today, which we are taught in verbal defense and influence. You can use your workbook that you have. You can use Kathy's book. You can use this list. I actually brought this list myself. It is non-conference approved literature. Because I wanted you to be able to look at it and pick some things. And it could be just, recently. I haven't been angry in a long time, but I've been single for 3 years. But I can tell you, getting a divorce, I was angry for a long time. But I'm not angry today like I was. Well, I don't know what happened, but I hope I got better. So we're going to take a few minutes just to kind of breathe and look at the list and think about conflicts, think about the good times. I can be just as stressed in the good time with Valentine's coming up or something as I can in a conflict. I mean, stress doesn't have to be something, it's just something that your body takes on. I was stressed before we started. I'm not so stressed now. When I mentioned the word emotional, law enforcement might go, well, personal. What do you mean personal? I'm going to talk about something personal. Some people do not want to talk about themselves at all personally, and I respect that. Me, I'll tell you everything. Okay, so we're going to take a little minute here just to be quiet, or I'll be quiet. Also, in this, we're going to do tactics also. I want you to talk about stress, conflict, defects, but also you can add your tactics and strategies. Is when I'm angry, I hope when you're angry, you do not have a gun on you. Or like what Gary says, if he doesn't have a gun or a knife, how bad could it be? I'm armed with a tongue. Okay, I'm the timekeeper, Ben. What we're doing is we're going around the room and we're discussing 2 and 3. We've discussed showtime, our best personal self, our best professional self kind of moved in there together, but we're on a personal note here and we're going to talk about our stresses, our triggers, our tactics, our strategy, what I can do. Here's my problem. I get angry. What can I do today? Believe it or not, I can shut up. I can not say anything. So what we're doing is we start here. Everybody gets a minute. There is no crosstalk. We don't jump in. Everybody talks. Then we move to the next one. And I'm not a very good timekeeper. And I do pause it so that you can talk a little bit more because I know you're just kind of in it. So I'll do my best. And would you like us to start over here this time, or are you good with starting?
Oh, I'm absolutely fine.
Good. Well, let's go.
All right. Well, stress and triggers and strategies, those are all things that we have to deal with in the law enforcement community all the time. The problem is your personal life you have to put to the side when you go to your professional job. So if you start bringing all the things at home, it's going to very well impact how you deal with the community that day or the upcoming days and weeks that follow that same problem. So there is a disconnect that goes between the tactics and how you deal with stress. But for the most part, when you're done at work, now you can have that ability to bring the work home with you. So now you have compounded stress. So we definitely do an okay job, and you do a better job on doing checks and balances on each other to make sure that we're functioning and we're going to be operational to the community, that we're not going to take anger out on somebody because that would be very detrimental to what we've built as an organization. Because so we don't try. We definitely try to keep the stress at a minimum, and promote the good that our organization does for the community.
My stresses are a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. I have no tactics or strategies for those two. At work, everything seems to be okay. So that's pretty much only my those my stresses right there. That's all I got.
Well, good for you.
My stresses. I just graduated May of 2013. And I am now a real life adult, which is a lot different than college. I now have to pay for insurance and a car payment and my health bills and my $70,000 of debt that I have at college, and credit card debt and all kinds of different things. My parents aren't very much so present in my everyday life, so I don't talk to them a whole lot. I don't have a boyfriend, or I have a boyfriend. I don't have a husband or anything. So I'm put on a Showtime face sometimes for my boyfriend rather than freaking him out and making him run away. I don't have any friends really my age because they've all graduated and moved back home or somewhere else. So for me, the only people I feel confident to talk to are my boss at work, because she understands life and I do not yet. So for me, I think all of my stresses bleed over all the time because I haven't contained them yet, I guess. So, or I don't have one specific person I can go talk to about certain things and then put on the Showtime face for everyone else. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
And sometimes on here, if you don't hear the ding, it's because I canceled it accidentally. So if I kind of go do anything funny, it's because I've messed up the timer here. Okay.
My life is stress. I mean, there's I don't know. People ask me all the time, how do you do it? How do you juggle it all? I don't know. I just do it. Between my full-time job and a full-time family, and I'm also in grad school full-time. So you just do. My mantra has always been, if I don't smile, I'm gonna cry. So I just keep smiling, right? I choose to be positive. I choose to get up every day and it's just that positive. The more I go at things with a positive train of thought, the more I find that it turns out in a positive manner. So things just happen for me. So that's that.
Okay. I sometimes let myself get overly stressed, and sometimes I'm intolerant about things I can't always change, but sometimes I get more passionate about things that I can't change, and that really stresses me out. I guess I try to recognize that, but a lot of times I'm already maybe showing signs of physical stress, emotional stress, when I realize that, hey, I just need to step back and, I can't change it, can't do anything about it, go forward. Sometimes it's difficult to know the difference, though. I feel like I want to fix things, but you can't always.
I get stressed because a lot of people ask me for a lot of things, and I don't really have what is my own time. And that's real frustrating because I have a lot of personal projects I want to work on, and those are the things that get delayed. What I do to deal with it is just, I take time in the morning to breathe and have personal practices throughout the day that help center me and remind me to breathe deeply. But it's just a lot of people asking a lot of things.
A couple of stresses I have at work, just a fear from an overbearing boss. Over in the last year, he got this wonderful new internal affairs software, and he's wanted to test every aspect of it. So people are getting written up for every little thing, where for years and years and years, it's just sort of status quo. Another stress, just being way too busy with work, 2 kids. I'm the board of directors for a hockey association, also coaching travel baseball. There never seems to be enough time to get anything done. As for the triggers, being in law enforcement, you just want to make everything right. Seeing things, people being cheated and treated unfairly just really, triggers a lot of stress also.
I've noticed that I'm stressed because I feel like I have a lot on my plate. But like I said, I want to make others proud. I want to do the best I can for everyone. So a trigger for me is either when myself, I realize that that's not happening, or even more, when I'm called out for my inability to do it all. Be it from my husband, who reminds me that he and my daughter, who have never willingly neglect ever, are right there waiting for me to finish my schoolwork or my work. Or my boss, who comes in and says, I realize you have a lot, somebody else can probably do this. I don't like being told I'm not able to do it, and I don't like things being taken away from me. So that's really hard for me. I'm trying to deal with it with the strategies of one day at a time, one task at a time, and communicating my best by asking people to help me with my needs as well.
I was sitting here thinking, and I have stress of a 17-year-old. You know, my son, you know, he's got ADHD, and that's cool. But that really has, as you progress, like you said, you got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, I think. As you progress, you start to find out that the things that you were really stressed out about, yeah, you know, with it, you know, and it moves on. But my strategy, the reason I don't get stressed, if anybody, any of my friends in Austin, or anybody, if they know where I am, pretty much between 9 and 11, 4 times a week, and that's at the Y. So, you know, when I'm up on the elliptical or up in a aerobics class or trying to swim, I'm not thinking about stress. I'm not thinking about all the problems in the world. I'm just exercising. And the reason I do this is because both of my parents died of cancer. I had cancer 7 years ago, I had prostate cancer, survived that. So there's no way I'm gonna ever stop exercising. So by doing that, I just don't really have a lot of stress, except when I meet people in class, or sometimes, I'm not talking about here, but as I go around the country, I meet people who choose to remain blissfully ignorant about realities of other people's lives. That stresses me out a bit. And what helps me out, though, to get over that is the wisdom of age. We're all imperfect human beings. Nobody's going to think like I do all the time, and that's fine. So, you know, those are the kind of things that keep me from getting too far out there.
I have to agree. My stressors, of course, are my full-time employment in Southern Stag. Fire stress. But it's a good stress. There's distress and then there's stress. What working in EMS and fire does is puts your life in perspective, in my case. And that's don't sweat the small things. So my stress, of course, is fire and EMS. When I come home, I've got a almost 6-year-old grandson that has custody of me. And when I say he has custody of me, he has custody of me. Okay, he actually is a stress reducer. You know, as my children, I had 5 children prior to him. We gap there, and then he came, and he is actually my stress reliever. Because as I've grown old and wiser and grayer, he has been stress reducer. So and I also fish. So.
With that,
I would categorize my stressors all underneath the category of stupid things. I don't have a lot of tolerance for things that kind of get in my way, that whether administration doing something stupid, right? So it's an issue of time. I don't have time to deal with all this stuff, and let's just get things done. What I found in dealing with the stress, 3 things: exercise, number 1. Number 2 is music, and number 3 is doing something with my hands.
My stress is money, and the discussion of money, or the avoidance of the discussion of money with my significant other. So when we sit down to look at the weekly or monthly bills and then the long-term financial stuff, I know that I'm really wise to do something where I get some exercise or a lot of deep breathing before we sit down, because it doesn't take much to get me to react and not respond when she said something that's totally innocent, but it's a huge trigger. I also, in a relatively short period of time, last couple of years, went from having a career where at the beginning of the day I didn't know what the end of the day was going to be, but by the end of the day I completed a project. I put together 2 hours of talk radio from beginning to end. So I went home knowing I'd done my work for the day. In the job I have now, it's always ongoing. There's no completion point for the most part at the end of the day. So it's not as stressful as I thought it would be. It's just a different rotation, sort of emotional rotation every day. I'm also a Y devotee. I'm there at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. How can you get up that early and go? And I'm like, how can you not go? And I've been doing that for 20 years, so that helps. Also music. I play a lot of guitar, and I get lost in it. So if I think it's going to be 5 minutes and an hour has gone by, then the next time I have to sit down and talk about something like the money, it's not this big a deal. We're empty nesters. I don't know if you'd like to have the second kid, to have 2 and 4-year-old, a lot on your plate. Getting older, one of the benefits is being an empty nester is one little less stressor. And I drink a lot of water. I find that also is a stress reducer. I hydrate pretty much all day long. Here I'm drinking more coffee than I normally do. Still, a liter or 2 of water makes the stress kind of flow.
Makes a lot of stuff.
Stress? What stress? I'm retired. It does take a lot off your plate. When I was later on in my career, there was not only was it doing my job, but I had a supervisor that had some health issues, and every time he would leave, my job was to do his work, and it wasn't. And that was stressful. I go home thinking about things. I've still got to get this done. I don't like not having things done. Outside of that, I can say I don't have a lot of stresses. I still have some triggers. I mentioned a couple earlier, when people kind of give me that indication you're going to do it, I have to have a tactic for that, put on the professional face. I have to, look at people, try to make non-judgmental, and VDI is helping with that a lot. One of them that I remembered off of this was whiners. That's a trigger. When somebody whines, especially grown men, I want to say, you whine like that? I said, my kids whine like that. So I have to adjust, and talk to them, maintain that professional demeanor, and get through the process. And I honestly, I use VDI all the time to overcome that. And that in itself helps me reduce stress because I'm not getting wound up with the things that used to do that to me.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like you're saying, and Peter explained, the more time or age or experience you have and stuff, and I've been an administrator over a dozen years, so what might have been something 12 years ago now is just, it's a momentary time of uncertainty, but there isn't anything we haven't got through. So at this, now it's, it just doesn't get the reaction from me anymore. We're going to make it work. We're going to get through it. So I don't look at it so much as stress. It's just a brief moment of uncertainty, if you will. Example would be if, getting a call, we've had an officer killed in the line of duty. Before that call, there was never a moment of uncertainty of all the hundreds and hundreds of times I've been called outside of work. Now, about every time I get called when I'm home sleeping and woke up, you have that momentary, this better not be that call again type situation. So I don't know if that's stress, but time, like I said, and experience is invaluable. Wish it could have been purchased 25 years ago. So.
I think for me, I struggle with finding home and work balance. I don't know if the rest of you in healthcare in here, but violence has swept into healthcare, and it's made our jobs so busy that honestly we've kind of lost that balance. And so most of my stress now relates to that. And like Pete and Ben mentioned, I'm a big believer in exercise and getting enough sleep and eating right. And I make myself hold to those 3 things, even when everything else is falling away.
So as Robert alluded to, saying that there is a lot of violence in the health in our career fields. But in addition to that, we're also growing where our organization is reaching out and branching out to different facilities, more tasks and work for us. So in addition of dealing with a lot of the volatile situations that come up because of the behavioral health crisis, we're also growing and stretched in. So that is a big stretcher for me. And the way I deal with it is, I breathe, I evaluate what's happening, and give it some type of structure and goal to figure out what the end and where I need to work toward. And I also try to have humor. No matter how bad it gets, there's always something out there that's going to make you laugh, that's going to bring a smile to your face. And if you don't look for that, then you can get overwhelmed. But if you constantly look for that silver lining, that little piece of something, then your day gets a little better.
Thank you. Is everybody feeling good about talking, I hope, and being heard? I'm stressed doing the timekeeping and staying on task because I told these guys to be on time. Anyway, we've established an emotionally safe presence for each other. So we've kind of practiced that and learned that. We practiced listening to 15 or 20 people individually, be able to speak for themselves and not for others, and not what we want to hear or possible. We all seem to be very patient. You talked about your stressors coming out a little bit more, acknowledging to yourself and to others. I get angry, I get stressed, I get triggered. This is what I do. What we're going to talk about next, because everyone will talk, we talked about tactics and strategies, and I put together this list especially so that you have reference. But I just put this together as an inventory. I was telling everybody I'm in 12 steps. I have to do an inventory every day of my behavior. Where was I selfish? Where was I upset? Where was I honest? I mean, I have a little litany that I go through. I'm faith-based too, so I have to do a prayer and a meditation. And that's my inventory in the daytime. For VDI, I put one together for conflict or for really any situation. Is what we're going to go around next and talk about is what is your daily routine for inventorying yourself, your behavior, what's coming up? Are you pre-planned? Let me see, I'm going home, and since I don't go home to anybody, my dogs, I'll be happy. So do I have to plan for a conflict coming up or a stressor coming up? Or actually, I'm meeting a new man in 2 weeks. That will be stressful, but not in that way. I don't think there'll be a conflict. But you know what I'm saying? I'm hoping not. However, I have to tell 3 other men I won't be seeing them. But the conflicts, yeah, well, when you date, you date. I mean, it's like I don't have a relationship with any of them. But what I'm saying is that I plan out my week just like you plan out your week. I'm going to get up, I'm going to get dressed, I'm going here, I'm going there. But if you're married and you have children, you plan out, I mean, are you going to sit down and talk to one of them for 5 minutes? I don't know. Are you going to, when you see your wife, are you going to talk about money next week? And am I planned for that? Have I processed my stress and my triggers before we sit down and talk? I'm making humor because it just sounds funny, but to me, it won't be funny to people who might want to take you out if you're single. Or people I want to go out with, it's not funny when they call me. So I don't want to just, have a comeback or a reaction and blah, blah, blah. And if I tell someone I'm not going to be seeing them anymore, I need to do it kindly and politely. So I need all of my Showtime face and my tactics to go on here. When my ex-husband announced to me that he wanted to divorce, I was not very kind. I don't know that I'd be kind today, but that's a big, you get phone calls, you get things happening into your life. And I didn't say, if somebody's going to hurt you, if someone conflicts, I said, when it happens, how bad is it? You're law enforcement. I'm going to the scene of something. It's not if it's bad, it's how bad. And what am I going to plan and prepare? So I'm just asking you, and you can say, I don't do one thing. I don't pray. I don't meditate. I don't, sit and go, okay, I hope my wife and I get along in this next conversation, or my 16-year-old or my 15-year-old or my 2-year-old, what do you have a strategy? I'm introducing it. I think inventory is important. She talks about in chapter 10 of the book, how do we move ahead and maintain, how to improve our future behavior. I'm just giving you some of the things I do. I sit down with pen and paper to ferret out my behavior, what I did right, what I didn't do right, how will I correct it? Believe you me, I've had to do a lot of correcting of my verbal communication because my skills, I'm divorced, they're probably very low. You're probably going, I can imagine. Are my verbal skills better? You bet they are. All of my behaviors are better. I announce I'm in 12-step 29 years. It's about getting better. Verbal defense, confidence in conflict. I am more confident today that it isn't that bad. I might not be the woman I could be or should be, but I'm not the woman I used to be. So we're going to take a few seconds to think about this inventory thing. And you might say, I think I'm going to go home and do some writing. I'm going to go home. Maybe I'll get a journal. Maybe I'll get a pre-planned conversation and role play with someone else. We talk about practice, prepare, and do it. How will I do it? Am I going to practice ahead of time or just wing it because I'm such a good verbal defense and influence now? I've been to a conference, I've been an instructor. I'm teaching. I ought to be a pro, but I ought to be a saint now too, but I'm not. Okay? Not for me. You'll go, I can see why she doesn't have a husband or a boyfriend. See how self-conscious I am? That's one of my defects. I know you're ready. Would you want to start with you?
You know what?
Okay, he wants to start with you.
I had the opportunity before to listen to everybody, so I can strategize my answer. But not this time. So how do I improve my behavior? I think what I do is, and I do this already. I think about every interaction I've had with people, and especially if it's a difficult conversation or uncomfortable conversation, and depending on how that conversation went, I'll go back and reevaluate it in my mind and think, okay, how did I influence this conversation? What did I do to drive it in that direction? Because, I strongly believe that we have the ability to influence other people, and how we act does change how they react. So I do that, and that's how I evaluate. Did I use the proper words? Did I, how was I positioned? What did I say? How did it come across? Were my emotions showing during that interaction? So those are things that I just think about. So next time I have that conversation, I know what I did wrong the first time, and I can make it better and improve it.
Javier kind of alluded to it. I think we all have the ability to be change agents in our organization, in our society, in our culture, and in the world. And it's a little something I've done for years, where I do a little nighttime kind of accounting for myself, where I look at what went right and I look at where things went wrong, and then I kind of visualize how I could do them better and differently. And I try to do that every night. Some nights I'm so sleepy I fall asleep before I get it done, but I do it right before bedtime, and it's just kind of something I've always done.
Thank you.
I think one thing I find myself always trying to improve on is when others come to talk to me, it's usually, I have 18 things going on, but to force myself to take a step back and actively listen to what they're saying, because they were there for and are there for a reason of importance. And again, early on, I failed miserably at that, but now I constantly reminding myself, hey, this time is important to them, and to try to get as much information by listening what they're talking about, getting to know them a little bit better. So I constantly try to improve on that.
I'd have to say my strategy is the first thing in any if there's been some sort of competition is to apologize. And then sometimes the reason I call it a strategy is if I come to my sense and realize it was my issue, then I sincerely apologize. Sometimes that's hard to do when I don't think it's not my problem, it's your problem. But I can still apologize because it sets a better tone for the situation. I apologize if I was misunderstood, or apologize if that's the intent. Sometimes the argument was there, and if I think, well, it must have been that they must have screwed up. It really is. I'm the one communicating to them in the issue, or trying to resolve this. And especially when I consider myself a verbal practitioner, I need to take that responsibility. So I always started off with an apology, whether it was because I believe I realize I screwed up, or haven't realized it yet. At the very least, I have a higher responsibility to make sure this goes better for the next time.
Thank you. Would you like to share how you do your inventory of your skills to prevent conflict and stress?
Absolutely. That's what I use my alone commute time in the car. On the way home from work, to debrief myself about what occurred at work. On the way into work in the morning, to kind of debrief myself about what happened at home. I've lost that process since I retired, and I've got to come up with something new now because I haven't debriefed myself in like a month and a half. But I look at it this way. I figure that everything that went wrong, I could have done something better. And I don't mean that in a, oh, it's me, I suck, I make the world bad way. What I mean is that if I had a hand in it, I probably could have done something a little better to help. I'm supposed to be the contact professional. I'm supposed to be a trainer for this stuff. I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. So I try and find ways I could have done it better. Who might have been in the wrong? Sometimes that's critical to know. But for me, the more I'm interested in is how do we make a better life next time. A lot of times I could actually, unless it's something criminal, care less about who was wrong and who was right.
When I was 16, I had a lower back surgery and I had a body cast. It was summer after my junior high school. Everyone else was going to prom and driving around. I was in the bed in a body cast all summer long. So when I get up now, before my head leaves the pillow, the first thing I do is sort of feel my heartbeat, put my hand on my chest, and I feel the breath coming out of my body. So I'm grateful just for the fact that I woke up. And then on good days, before my feet hit the floor, I pause for a second, realizing that I couldn't always do this. Something we take for granted for the most part that we get out of bed. And I spent a whole summer just couldn't wait until I could do what I now do. And sometimes I don't think about it, but on good days I do. And so throughout the course of the day, I'll sort of take moments where I'll take a walk. Today I got out of here for 10 minutes just to get some fresh air because I hadn't gotten any of the day and a half. Take on the block and think about what I've been doing and what's coming up. And I also do a lot of, right before I go to sleep, I close the book, I turn off the light, and I run. I do, how did it go? What happened, what didn't, that I had thought about that morning that was supposed to happen or wasn't supposed to happen. And normally, if I do it deep enough, that's what puts me to sleep. And in the middle of the night, when I get up and I can't sleep, I do the same thing. I'll run through it. And I find this sort of beginning and the end of the day, sort of, it's called meditation, but just sort of pondering. It helps. The other thing is when you talk about the car, I try to spend a lot of time in the car with the radio off and the phone far away from my hand, so it's quiet. It's time.
Thank you.
I'm very consistent in my inconsistency with this. It's a good idea to try to do it, but journaling, writing, when I do that, I find it's things go much better. One of the techniques that I found worked really well, so I quit doing it, was having a grateful list of the things that I'm grateful for, and I'll forget about it, get busy and forget about it, and then go back to it and try to be better next time until I go on and do it all over again. So inconsistent consistency on that.
Thank you.
fish. How to relieve my stress, I fish, I play with my kids, and I call kids because I've got my grandson, of course, but he's got his friends over too. Those are the stress relievers in my life. We just have fun. I'm kind of the Pied Piper of the neighborhood. So, and anybody who knows me, has worked with me, knows that anytime they can come and I'll engage with them, we'll talk. We'll have a little humor and we'll have a conversation. I think I'm a fairly decent communicator. You know, anything and everything any student, any staff wants to talk about, we'll talk about. And we'll see if it'll be a non-judgmental conversation, because we'll just talk about life and what I can help you with and what we can be stressed with.
Even the fish are happy to be caught.
Fish, sometimes they get a little angry, you know.
We have 5 minutes left in our class, so if you will, everybody, I think we can stay 2 or 3 extra minutes, so everybody could be heard.
I'll make this quick. 2 things I learned 21 years ago when I became a facilitator with 7 habits of highly effective people. Study says if you think you have a problem with anybody else on this planet, go to that reflective piece of material in your bathroom called the mirror and look in it. And then first figure out, is the problem not you? I learned a long time ago that 95% of what I thought were problems with other people came from me. The second thing is legacy. I learned about what the devil are you going to leave? Like when you leave your office or you retire for 2 years or whatever, people are going to be going, oh, gone. Or they're going to go, I don't know what we're going to do without Peter. Which one do you want to happen? You can't wait till you're about to retire to create a legacy. Your legacy is created every single minute of every single day with every single person you ever meet.
I like that. In fact, I was about to say I don't have any inventory at all. I'm a loose cannon, which is probably why I can't get everything done that I want to do. And I can give you 1,000 excuses as to why I can't do that. You know, my car time is spent making those phone calls and catching up on things. I'm constantly going. But if I could say that I do one thing, it is try to be a sponge. So I'm constantly trying to be not only grateful for each opportunity, but listen with my whole self, because there's something to learn and appreciate in everything we do.
With mine, the stress being so busy, I guess my only resolution is just enjoying it. It drives me crazy, the kids and everything like that, and being so busy, but really I wouldn't have it any other way. So you just try to make the most of it, work through everything, try to plan stuff out, and just fit everything in.
So for me, I journal, and that gives me reflection on the past and gives me projection towards the future. So I make my plans and next steps.
I do a lot of reflection in the car of what happened in the day, and also planning of what needs to be done at home, and vice versa on the way to work, planning, preparing for the day, and reflecting on what happened in the morning at home. So that's helpful.
Thank you. I also do a lot of that reflection in the vehicle, but I've also learned I don't have to be right, and that's really hard for me, because a large portion of my life was that way, hence the divorces and things. So with my new marriage, it's okay, and walking away, shutting my mouth and walking away. And I've learned 24 hours. Don't be a jerk. Give yourself time to think about it and process before you react, and things turn out much better. Thank you.
And before we start with you, may I ask you pretty please to fill out my evaluation form? Oh, I can't evaluate myself. I don't have one. Oh, darn, 10 is good. Okay. And we promise we are listening. May I ask you, is it permissible?
It's totally fine.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm listening. And we're listening.
I pray a lot all the time, all throughout the day. If I didn't do that, I'd lose my mind. I have really bad anxiety and stuff like that. So praying for me helps me change and kind of get back into a good state of mind. I am huge on communication. So I like to ask people, what I can do to improve. I really enjoy, I guess, good conflict. So if someone does have an issue with me, most people don't want to talk about it, and I force them to because I want to come to a solution to the problem. I have lived with a lot of roommates that I hate all the time. But we have to learn to live together. I'm a very laid back person, and most of my roommates are not. So trying to communicate and sharing with them and trying to get feedback and understanding people and who they are and where they come from. So,
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just plan things out, and I surround myself with good people, and I'm a very social person, so that's kind of how I do it.
Well, I got to say, conflict is the result of bad communication. And if you're not constantly reviewing after action reviews of not every communication, throughout the day, especially towards the big ones, to a spouse, to a coworker type thing, you better be asking what went right, what went wrong, and how can I do better the next time that this happens. If you start doing that, then your conflict will go down, your confidence will go up, and you're just going to be a more well-rounded person to be able to handle these types of things in the future.
Wow, well, that was the perfect ending. I have on your email address to me and Kathy Mangold. She is not here. It would be really great if you emailed her just to acknowledge her. You don't have to tell her how great I was. It's okay. But tell her good luck with her book. And when she does the presentation, perhaps next year, visit that. And I so appreciate your time. And I hope you enjoyed being able to be heard and talk and the things that we shared.